Welcome back to Thimbleberry U. I am John Jaggay, joined again by Amy Wallace from Thimbleberry Financial. Great to be with you, Amy.
Jag, it's good to be here.
I know, Amy, you deal at Thimbleberry with a lot of folks in the medical profession, and I don't have a lot of knowledge in this field beyond what I see my wife watching on Grey's Anatomy, but I know that one of the big financial changes for people in the medical profession is post-residency, when they go from being a resident to moving on to the next step from there, and they have a position as a doctor. That is a big financial change, right?
It is. And the average medical resident is earning about $63,000 annually, according to Medscape's Resident Salary and Debt Report in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the Medscape Physician Compensation Report, which this is from 2018, primary care physicians in the United States earned on average $237,000, and specialists earned $341,000. So that change financially is huge because that's somewhere in the range of 370% to 537% increase in income.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a great problem to have, but as we've talked about in prior podcasts, it's another form of sudden wealth, and sudden wealth can be a bit dangerous.
We talked about that in our previous episode about lottery winners and things like that. Amy, the title of today's podcast is 5 Financial Steps for Life Post-Residency. What are the 5 things that someone should do financially once they are done with residency and they have a position as a doctor?
I'm going to be a little bit boring in this list, but they're important. Number 1, shore up or build a cash reserve. Number 2, have a plan for student loan debt and know the consequences of that plan. 3, get your insurance in place in the form of disability insurance and life insurance. 4, start saving for retirement and make sure you know how much you need to be saving for retirement. And 5, start prioritizing and then working on your other financial goals, which may include getting a new house or a vacation property, kids' college, or money saved for other financial goals.
Those flexible type of goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the first thing you mentioned on the list is the cash reserve. What about somebody who says, I just had a 370% increase in income, as you mentioned earlier? What do I need a cash reserve for? I'm rolling in it right now.
Well, we're still in the midst of COVID. And what we saw during COVID is that the healthcare industry is not as stable as we thought. There were a number of physicians that went months without regular work as a result of elective surgeries being suspended. We also have physicians that haven't worked a normal number of hours simply because they're in occupational health and people are working from home.
Yeah.
So with cash reserves, I'll share that the amount someone needs should really be based on their current spending.
Okay.
3 to 6 months of their expenses. If you are a one-income household, that should be 6 months of expenses, even if you're single. If you're a dual income household, 3 months could be more reasonable, but you also have to look at what the difference in income is between the two parties.
Right.
I know that cash reserves are not exciting. They are necessary. And something that's really interesting, and I realize physicians may not love hearing this, but doctors are known for not building wealth in the same way that other professionals do. Thomas Stanley talked about this in the book, The Millionaire Next Door. There is an image to uphold when you're a doctor. And not everyone's going to fall prey to this, but a lot of people do. And as a result, physicians often overspend and undersave. So they have to be really conscious to make sure they save an appropriate amount of this income.
It's the proverbial keeping up with the Joneses, right?
It is.
All right, so second on our list, Amy, is the idea of student loans. And yes, doctors typically make a pretty nice living, but many of them have a pretty hefty burden of student loan debt after going to medical school, right?
Yes, it definitely seems that way. Educationdata.org reported in September of 2020 that the average physician ultimately pays $365,000 to $440,000 in student loans.
Wow.
$165,000 to $240,000 of that comes purely in the form of interest.
You're talking on the high end, almost $250,000 in student loan interest. Wow.
Yes. So an important thing to note is that much of that debt is expected to be entered into a loan forgiveness or debt repayment program. Loan forgiveness is a wonderful thing, but depending on the program you're in, it can be taxable. And some of these programs I've seen have people paying so little in terms of their payments that their loan is still growing during the period to get to loan forgiveness. And certain forms of loan forgiveness are considered taxable income, thus creating a tax bill in the year the loan is ultimately forgiven.
Got it.
I've seen an example where someone came to us and had about $400,000 in student loan debt. They had already refinanced and were counting on loan forgiveness, but didn't want a lot of their new income to be going to pay student loan payments, especially since they were counting on the loan being forgiven in the future. By the time that loan was going to be forgiven, they were going to owe over $800,000.
Wow.
Which really means that in the year that loan is forgiven, that's $800,000 of income that they will incur that year from a tax standpoint. So they have to have enough money saved to pay the tax bill in that year.
And what gets forgiven from the loan? That is a really important point.
Yes.
Okay, so number 3 on our list, you mentioned insurance and 2 types of insurance, disability protection and life insurance. Let's break those down.
Yeah, again, not really fun topics, but important. There's a lot of education that goes into being a doctor, not only before you become a physician, but also after you earn your license. And it's why physicians are paid the incomes that we talked about earlier. And the people who are specialists have even more training and education. So if someone has gone through all of that training and they now can't earn that income, they will likely be hurt significantly from a financial perspective. So the thing to do is protect that income. It's kind of like if legally we could have a money machine in our basements, one that could pump out money, and I did say legally, we'd want to protect that machine, right?
Yeah.
Just like we get insurance on our cars. Well, we are our own money machines. And physicians are very specialized, and so getting disability insurance that helps protect the job they're doing if they can't do it. For example, if a surgeon has a problem with their hands, they're not going to be performing surgery going forward.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is that is a massive loss of income and you want to protect against that.
Absolutely. Then there's life insurance, right? This one's a little bit more simple. We all understand the concept of life insurance. It's there not for the person whose life the insurance is on. It's for their loved ones.
Yeah, it's not for you. It's for the people you're going to leave behind.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to make sure you've got an appropriate amount of life insurance to take care of the people you're leaving behind that rely on you.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned saving for retirement, and you had said earlier, Amy, that doctors are notorious for not being good savers. This is a really important point. Don't they have 401k plans like the rest of us?
Many doctors do have 401k plans or 403b plans. There's some differences between those two, but in general, they have the same limits. In 2021, that's $19,500 if you're under 50 that you can contribute each year. The problem is really that for retirement savings, there's some range based on your lifestyle and goals, some range of income really that will need to be saved towards retirement. And the easy place that many people save is those work retirement plans. But if we look at someone who makes $70,000, $19,500 is a higher percentage of their earnings than someone who is making $250,000 or $300,000.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily a physician's fault that they haven't saved enough, because they have to actually seek out additional ways to save. Because just using a 401k or 403b plan probably is not going to get them where they want to go.
Right.
Physicians may also have a plan called a deferred compensation plan, and there's really 2 kinds of these retirement plans. Both have pros and cons. And it's just what I'll say here, it could be a whole episode in and of itself, is it's really important to understand what your plan is like and what you're getting into beforehand.
Got it. Okay.
I alluded to that physicians may need to save outside of these kinds of plans, but that takes discipline and knowledge. 2 things physicians absolutely have to get through the schooling they've gone through, and it's not necessarily knowledge they have in the financial world. So it's going outside your comfort zone to get the help to know how to do it.
And that's where you come in, and we'll give your contact information at the end of this podcast, Amy. But the last item on your list is saving for other goals, kind of that miscellaneous stuff. Once you get these first 4 items in line, you can really start thinking about what your goals are and what you want to do with your money.
Absolutely. And this is going to be different for each person. it's coming down to what's most important to you, what your values are. And I think there can be different things in here. It can be things like buying a house or funding your kids' college. Maybe it's a vacation property. These are items that might, be foundational in nature, depending on your thought process, but they might also be splurge items. And I'm putting them at the end of this list because the other things really create the foundation of a good, strong financial life. And if these items get addressed before the other items, what my 17 years of experience say is that they make it harder to meet the other goals because these have now become important cash flow items and lifestyle items and may not leave enough room for the other things.
Like you said earlier, there were a number of items in this list that might not be the sexiest things to talk about, but that they were important. I know you didn't say sexy, I did, but putting words in your mouth there. But these more attractive items that you might have on this list, house, boat, car, whatever they might be, your point is well taken because you want to make sure you have your financial house in order before you start worrying about these quote-unquote splurge items.
Absolutely. And the splurge items are fun. How often has someone gone to buy a house with a budget and the top end of what they're willing to spend, and the next thing you know, they've gone over it?
Well, we started this podcast talking about my wife watching Grey's Anatomy. She also watches House Hunters, so I think we've come full circle in this podcast.
Perfect. And this is not an ad for HGTV.
Fair enough. Amy, if somebody wants to reach you at Thimbleberry Financial, what are the best ways to find you?
They can definitely find us on our website at thimbleberryfinancial.com or give us a call at 503-610-6510.
Always a pleasure, Amy. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good.
Registered representative, securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisor representative, Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.